Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm not.
All right, very, very, very big day. We have the First Lady of FS1 in the building. It's a very big deal. Miss Ernestine Sclafani Bayless is here in the Maybe I'm Crazy podcast.
You've heard a lot about her. If you've been watching FS1 and ESPN, you've heard a lot about her. We have her in the flesh.
If you don't know who we're talking about, this is Ernestine.
Thank you.
Who is an amazing writer and is also married to our own Skip Bayless.
That's the amazing part.
Yes. As you read the book, you find that out. Well, I know a little bit about it because I worked with Skip for 2 years, launching a brand new show on a relatively new network. But I met you simultaneously meeting Skip. So we became good friends, and you are wonderful, and I love that you keep Skip. I don't want to say grounded is the right word, but you bring an element to Skip that we don't get to see with Skip on TV, which is what basically the book is about. So she has a new book, and I highly recommend you get it. I'm halfway through already.
Thank you.
It's called Balls, How to Keep Your Relationship. I feel like I need to emphasize that one.
Yes.
Balls, How to Keep Your Relationship Alive When You Live with a Sports-Obsessed Guy.
Perfect.
That sums it up.
Yes. Now, Skip is also a contributor in the book.
He is.
But what made you want to write the book?
I wrote the book because after all of these years of being with Skip, 14, August 27th, and 3 years married, I had been through too many games in my life with Skip that I really didn't want to sit through, but I did because I wanted to be with this guy.
Right.
And I had a lot of friends that would say to me, how are you watching these games? Don't you get tired of them? And I could never do it. And so I figured, well, I think I should write this book that declared all of my tips and secrets to these women that can't take it, but they need to because they're either living with a guy, they're dating a guy, they're married to a guy, and so that's what I did. And in love with a guy, and so I decided, okay, I'm just going to sit, and it's been in my head for so many years because, like I said, 14 years. And the first year I was with him, I never even knew what football was. I never went to a game in my life. I've never been to a real football game in my life.
Really?
I swear to God.
That's fascinating when you consider that you're married to Skip Bayless.
It's true, yeah. And the closest I have ever come to a football game was I played clarinet in the high school band, and so I went to the marching. I was part of the marching band, and we went to football games. But I have never been to an NFL game. I've never been to an NBA game. I went to one baseball game in my life with a good friend of mine back in the day. We went to see the Yankees, and that was it. And that's the only game I've ever been to. So when I met Skip, and he said, I'm in sports, I was like, oh, that's really nice. I had no idea what the magnitude of I'm in sports meant.
Right, exactly.
So he would come to my house, my apartment, and he would say, can we turn on the game on the weekend? And I was like, sure. And then it never ended. So it started at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and at 1 o'clock in the morning, he was still there watching games. And I thought, this is odd. But then it became a regular thing, and I even bought the sports package for him at my apartment. That's how much I cared about him. Yeah. He said, could you get the sports package? I had no idea what the sports package was. I was like, sure. And
then $75 more.
$75, and then it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it's Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it went on from there.
Having known Skip for 2 years, the idea of him asking someone to turn on the game is like fascinating enough. Like I can't imagine him like being in your apartment with the anxiety of knowing like this game is on that I have to watch.
Starting
and I'm
now.
gonna ask you to watch the game.
True.
Like it's that intense, which is why when you told me that you had the book, I was like, that is genius because as you mentioned in the book, whatever you're going through, like Earl kind of goes through this with me because he doesn't really like football. And you know what football season is. It's like the dreaded football season.
Marathon.
We kind of all go through it with our significant others, even if they like sports, because it's just so many games. As you said, Thursday,
endless.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then, it just never ends. And then NBA season kicks in. It's just baseball. So, yeah.
It's just endless. It is.
So it is really something, especially if you're in the business. But what was Skip's reaction? Was it your idea? Was it Skip's idea to write the book?
It was my idea because I had the idea in my head for at least 10 years because I kept thinking, God, I would call my mother and I would say to my mother, I have to watch another game. And she'd say, oh, and my mother being a little Jewish woman from Long Island, she grew up in Manhattan, but she was like, listen, would you rather have him go to Hooters with some guys and watch it with the guys? He wants to watch the game with you. I'd say, oh, okay. And then I was like, my friends would say, how do you do this? And so I thought there has to be something out there like a guidebook or a handbook. And I looked online and there was nothing. Nobody wrote a book. Holly Robinson Pete wrote a book about what the 40-yard line means, and I don't care about that. And then they were all, Alyssa Milano had her version of teaching women about football and baseball. I didn't care. I needed to teach women about tips, how to keep your relationship going and how you can cope with it, even if you don't care about it. And so that was why I wrote the book.
Right, and the book really isn't about understanding sports.
Not at all.
It's really actually a dating manual.
Yeah.
And to your point, there's no, there's always a saying, there's no book on how to do these things.
Right.
There is no book on how to date someone. And this is literally a book on how to be with someone who is sports obsessed. But as you read it, to me, it was relatable in a lot of ways with relationships, because we're all trying to figure out, how to handle our partners for various reasons.
Right.
And it's a lot about compromise, and you both compromise, what you both do to make it work. So Skip is on a whole nother level. As you mentioned in the book, whatever you're going through, Ernestine is
I'm magnified 1,000 times.
Another level.
Yeah.
So what did you want people to take from the book, aside from just, how to handle someone who's obsessed with sports?
I think it doesn't have to be that you're with someone who likes sports. And you said compromise, and that's really what it's about. As far as a relationship goes, you can date someone who's an engineer or a veterinarian or a doctor, but you have to compromise in every relationship. And whether it's the beeper is going off because he's a doctor and he has to go to the hospital and you're in the middle of watching, you're at the theater, you have to compromise, or whatever it is. Mine just happens to be sports. And so I think it's just about relationships, and the sports part of it just adds a fun, insane part of it, because it really is a religion that I've come to know for guys and some women. And when I first started to see him, like any new relationship, so you're dating the guy and you're putting on really cute clothes that you think he's going to appreciate. And I was doing that when he was in my apartment watching the games. He could care less if I was wearing the entire Victoria's Secret lingerie closet. He would be like, can you move over? Hey, and I'm standing there with a really nice, little camisole, whatever it is. And he has no interest. He's like, I can't believe Tom Brady threw that pass. And it's like, do you see what I'm wearing? He has no interest. So that's one of the tips. It's you really have to see what the whole picture is, because it's not just, hey, I'm going out with this guy and he likes sports. And even if your guy is not as magnified as Skip is, if he likes a team, he likes a team.
Right.
And it's really a very important thing in his life.
Obviously, your love of sports has probably grown over time.
Yeah.
Just appreciating the art of the thing. Are your takes growing? Or I know you're following Cowboys, the Spurs.
Right.
Do you ever have takes?
Skip usually asks me, should they throw a 40-yard pass, or should they bunt, or should they punt, or should they, this is what he asks me. And then I'm afraid to answer, because if I answer the wrong answer, he takes it well, why did you say they should do that? Right. So I kind of just say, I don't know. What do you think? He's like, well, I think that, he should just pass, whatever. So I go along with that. But I have come to know what, little things are. Horse collar.
Dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I know what that is.
Yeah.
It's like little terms, and Skip will say, wow, I'm really impressed. You know that. Well, I'm watching it. Would have to be a piece of wood if it didn't sink into my head after a while, 3-point line, he's got to shoot from the 3-point, whatever. I know a little bit about it. I can probably talk a little sports. If you asked Skip, he would probably say, oh, she doesn't know that much. But of course, I don't know what he knows, but then he does this for a living.
Right, no one knows what Skip knows.
But I can hold my own. When we lived in Manhattan, the doorman, who really loved Skip, and when Skip would be in Connecticut working at ESPN, I'd be living in New York City, and I would walk into my apartment building, and he would channel Skip through me. So he would say to me, so what'd you think of the game last night? I'd be like, yeah, I watched it. So what did you think of, that whatever it was? And I'd be like, he thinks I'm Skip. So then I'd have to call Skip and ask Skip, hey, what'd you think of that? So then I could go downstairs and tell Andre, the doorman, what the real take was. Because that's what people do. They talk to me as though I'm Skip.
We love it. Love talking about sports. Anyone's opinion. We'll take a bad one.
Right, yeah.
You'll take my opinion.
Yeah. So when I met you, the first thing I thought was, you and Skip, you just connect. You have so much in common. So when I found out you didn't watch or care about sports, it was fascinating, because it is fascinating predicament. You did not, now you do more, but you did not care or even know. Because it's one thing to not care. Some people just casually watch sports and you know who this person is and that person is, but you literally were the polar opposite. Like, you couldn't even recognize someone in the street.
That's true.
When it comes to sports.
Really
and you're
true.
with Skip Bayless, who is the biggest name in our industry.
Getting recognized in the streets
Right.
himself.
Right. And he would be
more than most athletes.
Right.
At
Oh,
this
yes,
point.
100%.
True.
So how did you guys meet? Like, how did those worlds collide?
It was the craziest thing. I had been dating somebody who was in entertainment for like 12 years, and then we were on the verge of breaking up, and I had no idea about sports. But he loved the Yankees. He loved sports. So one day I was in my living room, and I walked through the living room, and he had this game on. And I said, "Oh, what are you watching?" It was a TV show. And he said, "Oh, I'm watching ESPN. These two guys debate, and this guy is really good, but this guy, he's an idiot." And the idiot was Skip. And so I thought to myself, wow, he's kind of nice looking, that idiot, but I didn't think anything about it, and I just went on. And about 2 weeks later, I was working for a PR agency. I had to book Kevin Dillon from Entourage on a TV show. He was promoting, one of our clients was Hanes and Champion underwear and sportswear. So I booked him on 2 shows, and one was Cold Pizza.
Wow.
And I decided to go with Kevin, and I thought, well, it's a guy's show. Maybe I'll meet a guy, because my other relationship was ending. And I walked into the green room, and I look at the door, and somebody's passing the door, and it was Skip. And Skip passes again, and he comes into the green room, and he says, "Hey, who are you here with? What are you doing?" And he's like grilling me, and I was really nervous. I was giving him, I said I lived on 52nd and First. I lived on First and 52nd. I was giving him all this wrong information. And then before he left, this was maybe a 30 to 40 second meeting, I handed him my business card, and I said, "Hey, if you ever need PR, give me a call." And the woman that was working with me, he walked out. She said to me, "You're going to marry that guy." I said, "Oh, you're insane." And she said, "No, you're going to marry that guy." And that was the funniest thing I heard. And a week later, I broke up with the guy I was with, and Skip, that afternoon, the day that we had met, he emailed me and he said, "Hey, I'm sorry I had to run. I just wanted to say it was nice meeting you." And we started emailing each other, and we emailed each other for 2 weeks. And then we went out on our first date, and we've never been apart since.
Wow.
That's the truth.
And it's funny because it's like the
amazing.
sports did kind of bring you together.
Always
So
do.
Oh, yeah.
we know a little bit more about Skip because we work with
Right.
him. But publicly, Skip's persona is not, like, he doesn't really get too much into his personal life. Like, we
No.
all know.
Right.
You're
I
Ernestine, and we
exist.
all know
Yes.
about Hazel.
Right.
Yes.
And a little bit about how he grew up. But
Right.
on a personal level, we don't really know what Skip's into other than sports.
Right.
So what's Skip like? Is Skip a romantic? What do you guys do for dates?
It's very funny because people think we debate at home. So anybody meets me, they say, "So do you debate with him at home?" No, I mean, sometimes we debate, sometimes we fight, and then they say, "Do you ever win?" I say, "Yeah, I win sometimes." So he doesn't win every debate,
Right.
but Skip is very spiritual. He's very mild. He's not as, he really is what you see on TV is what he is. In that sports world, he's as honest and truthful, and what you see is him. But he also is very, he's a kind person. He's really caring. And he's a good guy. And so that was, my father always told me, you need to write a list of pros and cons in anything in your life. So when I first started dating Skip, and he had this crazy sports thing, but he had all these other qualities I really liked. And I love the movies. He loves the movies. We can go to 3 movies in one weekend and not be bored. And we like walking a lot, and we like music, and we like the theater. And so he had all these great qualities, and he's very sincere, and he's loyal. So all of those little added up to a good thing. And then we had the sports, and so it was like, okay, I like those qualities. And the first day when I met him, we talked about Woody Allen movies because we both love Woody Allen movies. The first night we talked on the phone for 3 hours, and he said, "I love Woody Allen." I said, "I love Woody Allen." And he said, I love Lucy. I know every episode." I said, "I know every episode verbatim." And so I was like, this guy is not that bad. He's really kind of cool. And it was funny because the first night he and I went out, we went to a little pizza place on First Avenue, and we walked back and we got Tasty Delight, which is a New York thing. And then he said, "Listen, if you and I are ever going to get to know each other," he said, "I have 3 days off. The next 3 days I'm off, or we have no shows or whatever it was. We have to go out every single day." I was like, wow. Oh, okay. So we went out 3 days in a row, and we went to the movies. We walked around New York. It was everything. But he's like, that is Skip. He's very, this is him. He's very prepared. He said, if I didn't do 3 days with you, then we would never get to know each other, and I don't know. So we had to do that. So we did it, and then we just started dating. And so, I don't know. That's
amazing.
You also said a very specific quote from Skip. I don't know if it was your first date or like the first couple times you went out, but he said something to you.
Oh, he said that I'll always be.
Very aggressive statement.
Oh yeah,
which like when you're out dating and stuff, like people kind of are not usually as direct as this.
It's like the red flag that you would run the other way.
Right, like but he presented the red flag.
Right.
Like here's my red flag.
Well, Skip is Skip.
Yeah,
Here's the red flag. What was it?
The red flag was we were having pizza, and he said to me, my job comes number one, so whoever's in my life would be 1A. And I'm thinking, well, I'm never going to stick around for that. Like, this is just a pizza night. Like, I don't care. And then I said to him, well, I'll never give up my apartment. I always will have my own apartment because I always want to feel that I have a place to go to. I never want to be owned by a guy. And so it was like, oh, okay. So that was thrown out on the table. And then after those 3 days of hanging out with him, it just went. And I don't care what he says at this point. He's made me number one, and his job is 1A. And he'll probably deny that, but I know that it's true.
It's the way to happiness.
Well, this is why we love Ernestine.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
That's
true
so
because,
beautiful.
you know, he's as dedicated to that job. He really is. Like, this is a man who watches sports 12 months out of the year, even in June and July when there's no sports or it's winding down. Skip will find, I'll come into the living room, what are you watching? Women's softball from Oklahoma City. And he's like, look at the way that girl throws. And I'm like, can we put on Jeopardy or something?
Anything else.
Right.
But Skip, you know, that's his love. But he is a dedicated person. When my mom was sick, Skip was there. Skip is the most, he's a family guy, even though he grew up with a very dysfunctional family. When he started going out with me, I grew up with the total opposite. My mother was the most lovable, caring, kind person, best mother, best wife, and Jewish. So she ended up converting Skip to eating matzo ball soup, and Skip is a big matzo ball soup eater. And he realized that there was love, that people could be in love and show emotion. And so I kind of helped him with that because he was just from a family that had no emotion.
You brought a little softness to him.
Yeah.
In a good way. A little sensitivity.
And we work with Skip. I met Skip originally. I was running social media for Undisputed, so I met Joy originally. And at that point in time, he was just on Twitter, a master of words. We all know that,
Right.
very articulate. Now he has Instagram, which we're all a big fan of.
Right.
Very happy he's on. How do you feel about Skip on Instagram? Are you looking for content? Are you giving him ideas? I'm sure you're taking some pictures. My wife takes all the pictures that I do the crazy things. So what is it like with Skip on Instagram?
I take the pictures when he's throwing his Dallas Cowboy T-shirt into the garbage. That was me. So every time he says, "Could you take the picture?" I say, "Wow, this is going on my resume," because he's like, "That's a really good picture you took." So I'm getting that and building up that part of my resume.
Right.
But he'll run it by me. He'll say, "Hey, you know, what do you think if I want to put Hazel on this? Can you take the picture of us or whatever?" And I say, "Yeah, okay, sure." But that's about as far as I go with his Instagram.
You were in PR, so
yeah,
you
I was in
understand the whole
PR, so
thing.
it's like I know the whole PR thing of it. But and his Facebook and his Twitter, and when I first met him, his Twitter is just, you know, Twitter is Twitter, and so there's some really insane people out there that go on Twitter and say horrible things about people that they don't know. And I'm a very protective person. That if I care about you, I will fight till the end for that person. And so I didn't like what they were saying about him. He would tell me, "Hey, listen to this," and then after a while, he stopped reading those to me because it was really upsetting to me.
Yeah.
I had to tell my mother. My mom is very calculated about how she brings stuff up to me, and she was like, so I read this comment on your Facebook. I was like, let me stop you there.
Right.
Here's the rule moving forward. No more reading the comments.
Right.
Like,
No,
I
it's
don't even read the comments.
terrible.
And it was one of the tips Skip gave me when we first started the show. He was like, you can't read your Twitter
Right.
mentions anymore because you're going to get bombarded with crazy people, which I'd worked in sports radio, so I knew, but I still would kind of go back at people, and Skip never does that. What he says, he means. So I was going to ask you that because I know you are super protective. And it's hard when you're with somebody who's in the public eye. Like, I can't imagine if my brother was playing now, what Twitter would be like for me.
Right.
Like, it would be insane. But has anyone ever come up to you and said something, or have you been around and heard someone say something about Skip?
I had an incident. It was funny. Skip, when we were in New York City, Skip was getting his hair cut at some salon, and I was waiting in the lobby for him. And these two guys came down from the elevator, and they were standing near me, about 5 feet away from me. And one guy, they worked at the hair salon. One guy said to the other, "Oh, do you see who was up there? It was Skip Bayless." He goes, "Oh, such a jerk." And I heard it, and I was like, I'm not going to let that go. So I went over to him and I said, were you talking about Skip Bayless? And they said, yeah. I said, do you know him? And the guy was like, no, he's just up there. I said, then why don't you not talk about somebody you don't know? I said, you don't know who he is. I said, so I don't really think that's a good idea. And just then Skip came down and Skip walked over to me and then they just kind of walked away. And Skip said to me, oh, you're not going to pick a fight. They're like 6'2". I said, well, I'm not going to let somebody say stuff about you. He said, I'm going to have to be the one that's going to have fight these guys. I said, well, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to. If you want to talk about him beyond, without me hearing, then that's fine. But if I hear something within an earshot distance, I wouldn't let, whether it's my mother, my sister, my friends, Joy, you, I wouldn't let them do that. Yeah. So, but people tend to talk about anybody in the public eye, in the spotlight. They don't know the person, and automatically you have this built-in.
Well, that's the environment that we live in. But you don't want the smoke. Right? They didn't want the smoke.
No,
not with the Baylesses.
No, not at
all.
So it's just terrible. And I was ready to fight the guy. I would have just knocked him down. And
Skip was like, you're a New Yorker.
Right,
you play
that's
that.
the New York Skip, the New York pit bull.
I know that Skip's superstitious. Do you think that Hazel has anything to do with the Dallas Cowboys doing so well?
Oh, please.
I'm just saying that Hazel's coming
Hazel.
around.
There's a chapter in the book that it's the funniest chapter because it's really true. It's the jinx chapter. I live my life with jinxes. So when we first got Hazel, which Joy came over the house a lot when Hazel was a little girl. Now she's a big girl. She's 3 years old, little puppy Maltese. And all of a sudden, I would be, if I was in the living room and Skip was in his office watching a game, I'd say, where's Hazel? Hazel, Hazel. I want to see where Hazel is. And then I'd hear Hazel's in the room with Skip, and I'd open the door. What are you doing with Hazel? Just don't worry about it. Just shut the door. And then I realized Hazel is now a Buddha. So Hazel is now being treated as a Buddha.
Yes.
So then when the team is winning, Skip keeps Hazel in the room, and she's on the chair, and she's having. And then the minute I hear the door open and I hear the door shut, I know Hazel is booted out because the team is losing. So I said, "Oh,
you got to change
fair.
the energy in the room."
Yeah, he did it the other night. I said, "Oh no, not the Hazel fact." And poor Hazel doesn't know she's getting picked up to be brought in as the good luck charm. He's like, "It's okay, you can come in with me." And then the other day, Sunday, whenever his game was on, it was the Patriots. I had Hazel, and Hazel's scratching at his door because she wants to come in. And so I opened the door. I said, hey, can you let Hazel in? No, you need to take Hazel away. Hazel cannot come in here. I said, come on, Hazel. You can't go. Exactly. You can't go in. I'm sorry. The poor, she doesn't know anything.
In that game, the Steelers needed Hazel to go in the room.
Right.
Yeah,
They were a disaster.
Hazel can be passed around now from team to team.
Well, the one thing about Skip I will say, though, because people ask me all the time, especially when I was working on Undisputed, like, do they really mean what they're saying? Like, you go there and you do the show, and like people think, okay, Shannon, we have a topic, LeBron, and Shannon's just going to pick this side, and Skip's going to pick this side, and I tell them, like, that doesn't. If you really think about it, it doesn't make sense. Like, if you ever argue something passionately you don't care about, no. So we couldn't do a 2.5 hour television show based off nonsense.
Right.
Like these guys really believe what they're saying.
And Skip would not.
Skip would not. So he has very popular stances.
Right.
And, like, this is what he believes. We all know he loves Tom Brady.
Right.
He's the greatest ever. He's the GOAT.
GOAT.
We know he's very critical of LeBron.
Yes.
Right.
That's the thing. We know he loves the Spurs and loves the Cowboys.
Jordan's GOAT.
Right.
Jordan is the GOAT. Yes.
Right, Jordan.
Is there anything that Skip is super, like, dug in on that you don't necessarily agree with?
Ooh.
Team-wise?
Or just a take, like, we know he is, like, very critical of LeBron. He's out on Kauai, as we know, because he's no longer
I like
with the Spurs.
Kauai, so okay. I loved Kauai from a Spur. I always loved Kauai. I was going to get a Kauai sweatshirt before he left the Spurs because I have a Manu sweatshirt and I have a Spurs and I have all that. And so I always loved Kauai. And when Skip started hating on Kauai, I still secretly love Kauai, but I would say to him, I really like him. And Skip would go, oh, fine, you could go with Kauai. And so we were we went to see the Pacquiao fight in Las Vegas.
Right.
And we're sitting there, and I don't like big crowds, and there was a ton of people, and I was starting to get like a panic attack. And everybody, when Pacquiao started winning, people were standing up, and we were maybe the 6th row in, and people started to rush the stage, and I was getting a little paranoid. Oh my God, we're going to get stampled like the Beatles or something. It was crazy. And all of a sudden, I spot Kauai, right? But before that, this gentleman comes over to Skip, and he says, hi, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Kauai's uncle.
Dennis?
And so
You met Dennis?
Yeah. And he was a very nice
That's
man.
like almost bigger than meeting Kauai.
Yeah, it's like a unicorn.
Right. But he was very, very nice. He was dressed really well. He was a handsome looking man. I said, I love Kauai. I just want you to know I love Kauai. So he said, thank you very much. And I saw Kauai over there. And so he was laughing with Skip. He made kind of a joke, and Skip said, I'm sorry, he'll always be number 2. You know.
Because Skip always keeps it real.
My dream was, could I maneuver my way over to meet Kauai? Like, that would have been the best. And Paul Pierce was there, who I love, Paul Pierce from the Celtics. And so I said to Skip, do you think we can go over to Kauai? He's like, how are we going to get over? But that was my mission. That would have made the night complete. If I could have met Kauai, and he looked so cute, because I just like him. And so Skip says, well, if you can get over there, then you should go ahead, you know. But I couldn't. There were too many security guards. He was sitting with the Pacquiao family. But I love Kauai, so that has always been our little.
I'm glad. I thought maybe he would tell the whole household had to refer to him as number 2.
No,
Okay,
Kauai.
Good.
That's good. Well, we were rooting for Kauai.
Yeah.
I was rooting for Kauai
back home.
it was a nice year with the Raptors, and I also picked them to win. So
okay, good.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you say Kauai is cute, because you have a chapter in the book, which I found very interesting. I believe it's chapter 5. It's cute guys, cool guys.
Right.
So explain this.
Like this.
So it's one of the way I can watch the games or any team that he has on is because I came up with this idea. For 4 hours, there has to be some kind of purpose and reason behind sitting here and watching this team. So I have to pick out cute guys. So the only way I could watch the game is if I pick out a cute guy. So it's like a guy, if he's watching, whatever show it is, I'm sure he wants to see a female, and he has
quite possibly,
whoever it is. So I started this whole thing that on every team, I decided there was 2 or 3 guys I really liked, and then they became my, as Wendy Williams says, my friend in my head. So they're my friends in my head, and so on every team, it's like okay, I love, it was the Spurs, it was Tony Parker, it was Manu, it was Tim, it was Kawhi, it was Patty Mills. I can go on and on and on.
Great choices.
And so then we do the Tom Brady. I like Tom Brady. He wears Ugg boots, and I like Ugg boots, and so whatever.
They're handsome nowadays.
Yeah. They are. So on every team, that was the only way. And then, but it would get Skip a little crazy, drive him crazy, because then I would pick out the guy, and then I'd say, in the middle of watching the game, so what's his story? Is he married? And Skip would be like, what? Is he married? Yeah, he's got 2 kids, I think. I don't know. Who's his wife? I think his wife is Argentinian. I don't know. And I'm like, so I'm finding out, where do they live? Like, I have invested 4 hours of my life in this, so I need to know a backstory, and it's very interesting to me. So then I'm Googling, and we're sitting there. Did you know that his wife did this and this? He's like, wait a second, wait, just 1 minute, wait, just 1 minute. So
that's good background research, though.
Skip already knows this information. He's a walking encyclopedia for all the people he's watching.
But he doesn't know the backstory, the personal story of, like when Ava Longoria was dating Tony Parker, that was great.
That was juicy.
He said, she brings cookies for the whole team. I said, there's no way she's baking cookies for the whole team. No way. So I find it more fun to do that. It's like
that's what we do
game.
here. We're more pop culture-y, talking about the ins and outs.
Yeah.
Sierra Wilson. Is that how you say that?
Wilson.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
Right.
Things like that.
Right,
We talk about
exactly.
I will say, though, I mean, this has been a product, as you said, of watching sports for the past 14 years. You know a lot more than, I will say this very frankly, a lot of men who watch sports. And that's, I'm not like dissing anybody, but we do. No, it's just a matter of habit, as you said. Like, you have to be a piece of wood to sit there for as long as you have and not consume anything.
This was the funniest story. So my friends in my head that I've built up, these guys are now my friends, and I watch them, especially NBA, because NBA I could see their faces. NFL I have a hard time because they're in masks, and it's very hard to see them, so it's a little hard. But NBA I really have gotten into because I can see them and they're cute, and I get into it. So we went to see the McGregor fight, and in Vegas, and there were a lot of people there. Kanye West was sitting in front of us. It was like a big to-do. And then the friends in my head, all of a sudden from a distance, I see Dwight Howard. And so I've watched Dwight Howard for years, and I feel like he's my friend. And so he starts to come over to Skip, and I go, oh, hi, Dwight, like, because I'm his friend, and he doesn't know who I am. So he's like, hi, and Skip goes, oh, this is Ernestine. I'm like, hi, how you doing? I loved when you dunked that cupcake with the Superman outfit on, like, the All-Star.
Great time.
So he's like, oh, thanks a lot. But in my head, I've come to know them, but they don't know me. But I've just
spend so much time with them.
I spend so much time, and I feel like they're my friends. And I also think they're very small. But then when you see them in real life, they're very tall.
Huge people.
Yeah, NBA really has that effect. NFL not so much because you can be a lot of different sizes in the NFL and be successful.
Yes.
It sounds silly, but really, if you go to, and we got to get you to an NBA game.
Yeah,
because
I would definitely go.
You will enjoy that a lot. And as a girl, I'm a fancy tomboy.
Yeah.
So I've been
Like
to
that. You are.
Love that.
hundreds of football games on every level, but NBA games are much more comfortable. You can dress cute.
Oh, really?
You don't have to worry about the weather.
Right. Oh,
there's
yeah,
wonderful
that's
food
great.
options.
Oh, good.
There's
Okay,
certain
that's great.
seats you can sit in where they bring you drinks,
Oh,
and you don't even have to
yeah.
get up.
That's
you have to wear
great.
heels. It's
Oh,
fabulous.
oh.
Girl.
You're planning your trip to when Kauai and LeBron see each other in Staples.
I have to.
That's what you need to
Definitely.
do.
Oh,
But
my
I get
God.
why Skip doesn't go to games though, because it's hard, especially for NFL. I mean, you're just in a box, like you can't
watch the
keep
game
track
and
of
go
it.
to
And
a
it's so
game.
much more easier to watch him at home. Plus, he has 2 TVs on. He's got his phone at the same time, and then it's much harder to get to the games, especially in LA, and then to get back. So and plus he gets heckled, or people will say things to him.
Yeah,
you
I'm
know,
sure. I haven't really thought about that.
hey,
It's
why
did you-
a
in real
little
life.
easier for us to go to a game. Well, we'll go to a game.
Yeah, I'll
and
definitely
you'll
go
love
to a
it.
game
if it's okay with Skip.
Yeah, definitely.
Fun. Oh my gosh. Okay, I have one more question.
Yeah.
What is it? I'm sorry.
Don't tear up. What? Oh God.
I don't know. He can be dramatic, so
Oh.
I'm not sure what's happening.
It's okay.
I have a dog. I have a dog as well.
Yes.
I realize Skip loves Hazel. I keep bringing up Hazel questions.
Yes.
You obviously take a lot of credit for Skip's job becoming 1A.
Right, 1A. Yeah.
Where is Hazel
Oh gosh.
on the pecking order?
I think there are some nights that I think Hazel rises above me, and there is really, because even last night he came over to say goodnight,
Yes.
and I was sitting in the living room, and I was sitting on the recliner chair, and Hazel was on my lap, and so Skip came out of the bedroom, and he said, "I'm going to go to bed," and Hazel just jumped up first, and she kissed him goodnight. And I said, well, I don't know how I can follow that. I said, I can't lick your face. I'm sorry. So he says,
Will not.
well, that's okay. I said, well, I think she's really in love with you. I think more than me, because Hazel just adores Skip. He's like, so he started laughing. Oh, come on. I said, you know it's true. And he goes, oh, right. And he walked away and went to bed. But I think sometimes she rises above.
Yeah, Hazel.
Dogs are different.
Dogs tend to do that.
She doesn't talk back. See, that's the problem, you know.
Yes.
I have a mouth. I mean, unfortunately, I do.
No, I think it's
been
very
great.
fortunate,
I mean,
actually.
yeah.
And I think part of your spunkiness and toughness and resiliency, being who you are and where you're from and what you're made of, is what has allowed this to happen. Because if it was a pushover person or somebody who didn't have strong beliefs or conviction, they would not be able to
I think
deal
somebody would have.
with everything
a lot of
Skip
people,
is.
you know, a lot of women, and it's not about being subservient. It's not about I'm living in 1950s of father knows best.
Right.
But if you care about somebody and somebody is worth it, like I said, it doesn't have to be sports. So it's a compromise. And you make sacrifices. It just happens he's in sports, and so the sports thing is a funny thing. And to me, it's very funny because it's a whole different world than what I've lived in.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it's the ultimate. What does he call it? The ultimate reality show.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I think some people get just this kind of overreaction to like telling women about sports, or like, you know, teaching women about sports. Like, I grew up in sports.
Right.
So
Your brother was a big famous
this is
player.
naturally, and I played sports growing up, so it's natural for me. But that doesn't mean anything if you don't grow up watching sports. Like, women make up half the fan base of sports in general.
Yeah.
So it's not that. But there's also a lot of men and a lot of women. Like, your father didn't watch
Right, my
sports at
father
all,
hated
which is
sports,
part of the reason why you didn't watch sports.
I didn't grow up, you know, like in a college. Skip grew up in a college world, OU.
Yeah, I grew up in Pittsburgh. It's not allowed.
I grew up on Long Island. Like, maybe the Yankees, my father would occasionally have a Yankees game on, but it wasn't like, my brother played soccer, but it wasn't like we were in this college town world thing. And when Skip, his family, everybody cares about OU and Snoop Dogg, and you know, it was like, I didn't know what this. I thought it was like a Snoopy, like Snoopy the dog, and it was like Snoop Dogg. Then it becomes like I know Snoop and his family and who they are.
Lil
Friend
Wayne.
in my head. Lil Wayne with his game room. He sends me the picture of his sports game room. You know.
Yeah, Lil Wayne is a family friend.
Yeah, he's the
real life.
nicest man. And when I asked him to contribute to the book, Skip and I were sitting at a restaurant and we were eating dinner one Saturday. I said, do you think Little Wayne would do it? And he texted, and within 2 minutes, Little Wayne texted back pictures of his sports cave, all of the answers, his jinxes, what his lady friend thinks about it in 5 minutes. And he wrote me and he said, you're my family, so whatever you need, I will help you.
And that really is like a testament to what Skip is. Like, like he is that dedicated, and that's why I am glad that you mentioned that. Like, it's not being subservient or anything. It's all really just about like caring about the person that you're with and sharing their passion. And he compromises for you. And
he does it all the time. Like Friday night is date night, and he really does try to work around it. But if he has to watch a game, he'll say, hey, I could watch, because we tape Jeopardies. We love Jeopardy, so we watch all 5 on Friday night. Beautiful. And he's very competitive, so he always has to say, if he misses it, I should have gotten that. I said, it's okay. Like, I miss it too. Yeah, but I should have gotten it.
Who
so
wins,
he's
though?
competitive.
Who wins?
I've won a lot, I have to tell you. And he'll say, wow, you really whooped that game, Yeah. But on Friday night, he tries to make it date night, and we watch Jeopardies, and we'll watch whatever show we're into, Yellowstone or one of the shows that we're watching. But if he has to watch a game, he'll say, I have to watch the beginning of this game. And I'll say, okay. And then I'll sit, or else I'll go and I'll do stuff, and I come back. He's like, now I'm in the 3rd quarter. I can't turn it off. I'm like, all right, watch it, whatever. Or then what he does is he tells me he doesn't have to watch it. I just have to monitor. The word monitor.
Yes,
now monitor has been, we're watching a show, and all of a sudden I see his eyes are looking down. He's got his laptop. I'm like, do you really want it? You could watch that if you want to watch it. No, I'm just checking it out, so I've learned.
Wow, that's great.
So I have one last question. So you both still have your watches set to Eastern time?
Amazing.
Yep. Okay.
Amazing.
So how does that work? Because we're in LA.
I know. It works that you become, when you think of your time, you think of it in double.
Yeah.
So he gets up at 2:00 in the morning.
Yes.
And so I hear him, and I get up he's on one side of the house during the week, and I'm on the other side of the house. But then he goes upstairs. We have a treadmill and a bike up in the loft that and he gets on that at 2:30 till 3:30. So at 2:30, I'm in the back, my room, with Hazel sleeping on the bed, and then I hear the TV on, so I put the sound machine on, and then that lasts, and then at 10:04, he's about to walk out the door, and so I know I'm just built in, so I get up, and then I lock the door, and I put my alarm on, and the alarm on the TV on the door, and then I try to sleep for an hour more, and it's really hard. Wow. But I'll say to him, do you want to eat dinner? It'll be like 5:00. He's like, well, of course, it's almost 8:00. I'm like, no, it's not. It's really 5:00.
Right. Yeah, like your body clock.
It's like I'm living in an alternate universe, a parallel universe.
Yes.
No, we understand it. Because we work in social media, and obviously when you post something, you're always thinking, okay, what time is it in New York?
Right, but this is like, he'll say, it'll be 6:00. He'll do his call with his producer, and then by that it'll run late, and I'll say it's like 6:45. So do you want to have that dinner? It's too late. It's almost 10:00. I'm like, now I just go, oh, okay. In the first year, it was like, no, it's not. He said to me, this is not going to work if you're not going to get on New York time. I'm like, I live in LA. I do work New York time most of the time, but I'm also in LA. I have to be on both times. And now I just tune it out. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's too late.
Wow. It's amazing.
That's an amazing caveat.
Yeah, well, you are the testament of compromise and making it work on a lot of levels.
Thank
14 years, 3 years married.
Yes.
And you guys made it work all through his time at ESPN during the week, and you're an inspiration. And the book really is about like their relationship, and it's kind of it's a sophisticated like if you guys did a reality show, it's sophisticated because it's in a book.
Yeah.
And it's a really good read. It really is. And like I said, we all have relationships.
Right.
That we're all trying to figure out and how to make it work. And you're a strong, beautiful, incredibly talented, accomplished woman.
Where can we find the book?
Yes, where can we get the book?
Amazon Friday. It comes out right now. It's up on Kindle. You can get it on Kindle on Amazon, but the delay, they pushed it 2 days, so it's Friday the 13th.
Ooh.
Yeah, it'll be a good thing. Not
it'll be a great thing.
Let's knock on that.
You can pre-order it on Amazon and can get it on Kindle. Balls, how to keep your relationship alive when you're with a sports obsessed guy, or just with a guy or girl that is intensely passionate about whatever it is that they do. It's a great book. It's very funny. It's
Thank
very
you.
easy to read. And
It's good
knowing
for
both
flying.
of you,
just throw it in your
Yeah,
bag and you
yeah.
read it
Oh.
before the flight is over.
It's
Yeah,
it's a great
amazing.
it's honestly a great book, and I'm super happy for you.
Thank you,
I love
Joy.
it, and having known both of you two, it's like even more
Thank you.
more
I
amazing
appreciate
because I
that.
knew bits and pieces of how I didn't know how you guys met actually,
Yeah.
but I knew the line about my job's always going to come
Right,
first,
A1.
which I knew you were like
A1,
okay,
knock
You're like,
that
yeah.
out.
we
Right.
just
Okay.
please,
Right.
please.
I love a
honey.
challenge.
Yeah.
In his head, A1.
Right.
A1.
Right. But super happy for you, and make sure you get the book. Thank you, Ernestine,
Thank
for
you
coming
for
by.
having me.
Appreciate
It's
it.
been a
so much. It's
joy.
amazing.
Yes,
Joy.
and give Hazel a hug.
I will.
Yes, yes,
Thank
thank
you.
And you and I are going to go to an NBA
Oh
game
yeah,
then.
definitely.
I can't arrange the Kauai meeting.
Oh, it's okay.
We'll have to pull
We'll
some other
find our
strings for
way.
that.
Don't worry.
Yeah, you'll get it.
I'm a PR person. We'll
Yeah,
get
yeah,
to
yeah.
it.
We'll leave that to you.
It's okay.
But thanks again.
Thank you.